The student ownership part of Buzz is awesome. Students actually have an opportunity to choose assignments. They have an opportunity of actually looking for different resources. If they're working in a unit and they are not 100% comfortable with, they have an ability to go in and look for help. There's an ability for them to look for peer help. So you'll notice when we get into the course today that it has an option where there's a peer help button that the teacher has to enable, but it'll show the students if there's anybody else who's completed that assignment so that they can go to their peers and get help from them on that particular assignment. So there's a lot of little pieces that give the student a lot more ownership and a lot more empowerment so that they can get in there and get their assignments done. There's a lot of helpful feedback and a lot of interaction with the teachers. There's one that tells the teachers the student level. The teacher can see the grades and see how they're doing, but they don't usually get a depiction or a clear picture of what the student is feeling. So there's actually an option for the students to share with the teacher if they're interested and if they're engaged, and that way the teacher could personalize and talk to that student and see different ways that they can engage the student to make sure that they're progressing nicely through the course. So a lot of opportunity for that student-teacher interaction. And then Buzz also lends itself to a variety of education models. So you'll see that it can be used for blended environments, competency, proficiency, mastery, or project-based learning. So we are going to go ahead and jump in first. I'm going to share my screen. And we are going to look at the student experience first. Okay. And of course it logged me out. Let me just jump back in real quick. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a student screen. You'll notice that there is the course tile because they're only enrolled in one course right now, which is the Algebra 1 Credit Recovery. You'll notice that it has that 68.26%, and that's the grade that they have currently in the course. And then if we scroll down, you'll see their activity screen or their activity stream. So it shows what they've been working on, what their scores are. If the teacher graded something and it submitted it to them, it'll show it on this stream as well. So this is the student's homepage. Now, a couple things I want to point out is if you go right up here, you can actually change your theme and your settings. Now, you could leave this open so that the students can come in and change their theme, or if you prefer for them not to do it, you could disable it as a teacher, but it's a cool little feature to let them personalize the course in their own. And I can think of a couple students in my past that would probably change this every day, but at least it gives them a little bit different view. They can also change their little character. So they can go in here and they can change their little character. They can change the way that things are seen. So they do have that option there. If we go over to the left-hand side, the first thing that you'll notice right here are any announcements that may have been made by the and if there's a to-do list. So if there's any assignments that are due this upcoming week, it would be listed on here. Now, to find out what these little icons mean, you can go ahead and select those lines right above, and you'll see the different option that the student has. Right now, we're on the home screen, and then we can jump over into the activity, and we jump into the course, which shows you all of the course material. Now, on this very first page, it's going to give the students the agenda. And you'll notice that I put on here a little agenda reminder for Monday. And then it tells them what was the last place that they visited in the course and what's next, which, again, is something I love because having taught in different learning management systems, it's nice that they know exactly what's coming up next and what they did last. So if you click on any of these folders, it opens up all of the folder contents. And if you haven't seen our course yet, let me click on here so that you can see how pretty it looks. So the soft chalk lesson is actually embedded right within Buzz. Now notice up here that there's that little bubble. That's telling me that 4 students have already worked through this lesson. So if I needed help or if I wasn't 100% sure how this lesson was done, I could refer to one of my friends so that they could help me with this lesson. So the lessons, they just work through the lessons as they normally would through soft chalk. The one thing that they have to make sure and do is when they get to the very end, they do have to click finish so that the grade registers into their grade book. And then they can go back to using the navigation arrows that are on the top right. So it's a nice seamless view for the students, and it puts everything right within Buzz for them to work. You'll also notice in my activities over here that I have the percent of what I scored, or I have a green check mark letting me know that I passed that particular lesson. The next one down is going to be the performance, and this is the gradebook. So because this course was set up as a continuous course, when I did it from the teacher perspective, it will automatically set up some target due dates for the students. So on here, the student's able to see what the target due date is. They're able to see what their score is. And if they click on it, they're able to see any activity. And they're also able to see the analytics. Now, again, this is a feature that the teacher needs to enable. But what this does is it lets you compare yourself to other students. Now, it doesn't tell you the other students' names, but it does let you see how the other students in your course are doing so that you can see where you are in relation to them. And this can be enabled or disabled by the teacher. It's just a matter of preference. The other option that they have in their gradebook is going to be the For Me, and we'll get into that one in just a little bit. But the students do have an option of adding in additional resources from a variety of different sites. So for example, they could go in to Khan Academy and add an extra video for them to watch. So that's exactly what this student did, and that's why it's popping up here. Then there's the what if, which as a teacher, I just love this too, because I always had the students that came up and asked me, Miss, what do I need to do to get an A? Or Miss, what do I need to do to get a B? So on here, they can actually figure it out on their own. So they can go in here and put in grades and see what they would need to score in order to get the grade that they need. So it's a nice little feature for them to actually work through to see how they could get their grade to what they would like for it to be. Then you have your activity. So on this screen, it tells them the date and the amount of time that they spent on each lesson. We do have the objective mastery. It's not completely set up, but here you would able to see the percent of what they've mastered within that specific standard. You have the analytics that I showed you earlier. So on here, the student would be able to see what the frequency of grades are with their other class members, if they've earned any badges, and then their settings as well. So if they wanted to finish earlier, they could go ahead and change the date and save it, and then it would adjust the due dates. The next one down is going to be their communication tool. And on their communication tool, they would see any announcements, and they would also be able to send an email. And then the next one after that is going to be their calendar. Here you see the agenda item that I added. They can view their calendar by day, by month, or all. And then if you notice on the calendar, you'll see that there's a blue dot. Buzz will color code it for the students. So if they're taking more than one course with us and they have them all within Buzz, then each course would pop up on a different color. So just a neat little feature for them. The other feature, which I wanted to share with you, is going to be that self-assessment. So this is something that the students could go to at any time, and they could just share with their teacher what they're feeling about the particular course at that time. So their understanding, are they completely lost? Are they okay? Are they competent? Are they an expert? Their interest level and then their effort level. And this is nice because if they're completely lost or completely bored, they can put that on here and communicate it with the teacher so that the teacher can help the student and intervene and maybe add some additional resources. Any questions so far? The teacher view is just a little bit different. As you can see here, there's a couple of different course tiles because I have several courses going on. You'll notice over here on the left-hand side that it says that there's a course challenge step 1. This means that I have a student that submitted a course challenge in my algebra course that I need to grade. So that pops up for me right there. And I can refresh my list to see if anything pops up. So let's say I go through and I finish grading my assignments. I could always go back to the screen, refresh my list, and see if anything else came in. So I'm going to go ahead and go into that same Algebra 1 credit recovery course that we were looking at earlier. And when I log in, what you see here is your people view. So we're right here on this little icon. And just gives you a good picture of where everyone is in your course. So you'll see the student's name, you'll see their score, you'll see the time they've been in the course. Here are the results to that self-assessment that the student took. So if I wanted to take a peek and see how the students were doing, I could look right here. If I notice that there's a student that is struggling or that they're just not interested, I can see it right here and contact them. The neat thing about this People's page too is that right now there's a lot of information on here because I clicked on everything, but you can actually customize it. So let's say that you just wanted to know their score, their self-assessment. Let's say we wanted to make sure that they're on PEACE. We want to know if they're online, but I don't want to know anything else. I can just go ahead and click on those and open my screen, and then it looks a little bit different. The other thing that you can do directly from this screen is that if I look through here, a quick glance, I can tell that my first 3 students, their score is a little bit low. So I want to put them in a group so that I can intervene and see what's going on. So I can do that by simply clicking on their names, and then I can either select groups or I can go ahead and add them to my clipboard. And you'll see that now there's 3 students that have been added into my clipboard. But before we go into that clipboard, let me go ahead and just talk a little bit about the different options in the menu. So the menu, again, similar to the students, you just click on the 3 little lines and then you get the full menu. The home page is where we started off. The next one down is the activities. And if I click on the course, this gives you an exact view of what the student sees. So this is from the student's perspective, what the course looks like. The next one down is going to be your performance dash, which is your grade book. And there's a couple little things here I'd like to point out. You'll notice that it's color coded, so it kind of gives you a good quick glance at the students that are passing or the students that need some extra help. You can enable quick edit if you needed to go in and just change grades. The other thing that you can also do is, let's say that I needed to grade all of the assignments for Unit 1, Lesson 1. If I just select the lesson, then I will get the students' assignments here. And then I can go ahead and put their score, I can see their assignment, I can type in any feedback, and then just submit score and go on to the next one. I can also score their score an activity history, so I can see how much time they spent. So their digital footprints are right here. And then I can also see the analytics, similar to the one that I saw on the students view. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my gradebook. And in the gradebook, you'll also be able to see mastery once that's all set up. You'll see the unit summary, so you can easily see at a glance which students are almost done with unit. And then you see the for me. So remember when we were in the student view that the first student 1 actually went in and added 2 videos to their Khan Academy. So that's why you see that 2 right here, because those were self-assigned, and you can see that they put a deadline for it as well. So when the students do assign themselves or they go in and they give an assignment to themselves, it pops up in the For Me screen for you as well. In each one of the gradebooks, you also have the options so that you can play around with what's visible. You can put visible footers so that way you can easily see if there's a student that's missing an assignment or has a score. You would go nice and quick on the bottom. You can also import and export yours. The next one down is going to be our reports, and there's a couple different reports that you can run. Of course, the more filters that you use, the better the reports will be, and they are all exportable into Excel. You can run them for your gradebook, and you can do it by activity or period. You can do it by student, and then you can also do it by mastery with the standards. The next thing that is on your menu here is going to be communication. You can choose to send an announcement to the entire class, and you can choose to send an email to the entire class, or you can send it to a group or just an individual student. Right underneath that, you'll see the calendar. So you can easily create agendas for your students by simply clicking on here and then typing in the agenda. In all of these, you can add any links that you may want to give to the students. You can insert a course link, you can add images. So it does give you a variety of options to add for each one. And then again, you'll notice the blue dots. That means that for this particular course on those dates, there's assignments that are due. Our next option is that people tool that we started off in when we first log on to the course. And then we get into our curriculum map. And in the curriculum map, there's a lot of things that you can do. But I'll just highlight a couple of the neat things that you can do. When you open up the folder, you'll notice that there is a pencil that you can select. And once you select that, you're able to see how it was set up and then make any changes if needed. In this one in particular, you'll see that it's visible. You can also select here and look at the objectives that match up with this particular lesson. And then you can also see the placement and navigation. Now, let's say that you wanted to add an extra resource of your own. You could go ahead and just select that plus sign, and we could search the library. And let's see that I wanted to add something, and I'm going to just pick Khan because I've used it before. But let's say that you wanted all the students to see the same Khan video. I can go ahead and select something. And we'll pick something from Algebra 1. Oh, did I select the whole thing? Okay, let me open, sorry. And then from here, let's say I wanted to do one variable linear inequalities, one-step inequalities, and I wanted to select this first video, and I can go ahead and link to activity. Now you want to link to activity in case there is, like let's say Khan went in and did some updates to the video, then it would automatically update in your course. If you copy the activity, it's a static copy, and then it would just stay there in the course. But once you do that, now that particular activity has been embedded into your unit. Now you can also move these around easily. So if you are designing the course and you want to change the order, you can just click and drag. On the right-hand side, you'll see a variety of different things. You'll see you can add a thumbnail, you can add your essential questions, any resources, vocabulary, standards. And if you click on the very first one, it allows you to enable the agendas for the course. It allows you to change the landing page, any student task, and then of course the standards, and if you want to use a badge for this particular unit. And then one thing I almost forgot, my favorite. The other thing that you can do from the curriculum map is you can go ahead and launch syllabus. And on here, you actually can match up standards to particular units. So it's just a matter of clicking and dragging. So that's pretty neat once you have all the standards there. You can work on your grading categories. You can also do group setup. In addition to that, you can get into your course settings. And for your course settings, like I mentioned earlier, I set it on continuous enrollment. What that means is that when the student logs into the course or is registered in the course, Buzz will automatically give them due dates for the different assignments. You can set up any specific requirements in your book by going to the gradebook tab. You can set your passing score. If you want to do grading periods, you could do that here. And then there's also additional variables that if you wanted to add them into the course. So that's kind of behind the scenes curriculum, that portion. The link that you'll see is actually the links. And on here, there's different things that you can add. It just depends on the district or whatever the administrator enables. Right now, we just have the calendar in there, but you can link your calendar to a Google Calendar. And then the last one is that clipboard that I mentioned earlier. So if you recall, when we were on the People tab, we added 3 students into the clipboard. So here are those 3 students. Now I can make them into a quick list and name them Group A. So now they're up here on my quick list. But what I can do from here is I can actually assign different assignments or activities to this group of students. So I can either attach an activity, I could do it straight from my Google Drive or from YouTube, or if I have a link, or I can search that famous library that we keep going back to and assign an assignment to that group of students. I can also go ahead and assign a badge to the student. So if these 3 students have really been working hard and I just wanted to recognize them for that, I could go ahead and maybe give them the character badge. So you do have those available here. You can also assign a task if you like, or you can also just send a message to those students. So the clipboard is really where you can truly spend a lot of time customizing and sending things to the students per group, or you can leave them individual, but there's a lot of capabilities where you can add extra resources or extra links, and it doesn't have to necessarily be from the library. It could be from additional resources that the teacher may have as well. So I know I said a lot,